Okay, so let's start and welcome to our first virtual Angel Investor Summit. And the whole purpose is really as we, as a team, many overseas Pakistanis and domestic Pakistanis have been working very hard to develop a startup culture in Pakistan. Developing a culture is important, but also equally important is to build a sporting ecosystem that will feed that startup life cycle. And one of the very important step is to get the early stage startups be invested. And typically, they're referred as the angel investing or friends and family investment. So this is a focus on the pre-seed investment for early stage startups, which is so essential because that's the time when ideas and the teams who have a really great innovative ideas, they need help to develop a early product and then be able to get customer traction before they go for the seed funding. So we'll start with the recitation first. And so I'm going to ask Zaharullah साहब आप recitation कीजिए फिर उसके बाद follow करते हैं.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار والفلك التي تجري في البحر بما ينفع الناس وما أنزل الله من السماء من ماء فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وبث فيها من كل دابة وتصريف الرياح والسحاب المسخر بين السماء والأرض لآيات لقوم يعقلون صدق الله العظीम बेशक पैदा करने में आसमानों के और ज़मीन के और एक दूसरे के पीछे आने जाने में शब रोज के और किश्तियों में जो चलती है समंदर में वो चीज़ें लेकर जो नफ़ा बख्श है इंसानों के लिए और ये जो जान नाजिल किया अल्लाह ने आसमान से पानी फिर जिंदगी बख्शी इसके ज़रिए से ज़मीन को मुर्दा होने के बाद और फैलाई इसमें हर तरह के जानदार मखलूक और हवाओं की गर्दिश में और बादलों में जो ताबे फरमान बनाकर रखे गए हैं दरमियान आसमान और ज़मीन के यकीनन इन सब चीज़ों में निशानियां हैं अक्लमंदों के लिए जज़ाकल्लाह खैर
Jazakallah khair, Zaharullah साहब बहुत खूब. Alhamdulillah, with that message, we start. This is Mohammed Anwar Khan. मेरा नाम अनवर है और मैं यूएस में तकरीबन 42 ईयर्स से हूँ और अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह from the day one right after my education been involved in startups and developing startups and making them successful and then also getting investment, now investing as well. तो उस पे अब आपसे शेयर करते हैं कि आज जो 2 आवर्स का सेशन है उसको कैसे हमने उसको फॉलो करेंगे. नहीं, आप नेक्स्ट चार्ट पे जाइए. अच्छा, इसमें एक डिस्क्लेमर दे देंगे. दिस होल सेशन इज फॉर एजुकेशन पर्पस. Various different options are talked about and they are not advice, but however they gives an early education into what are the different possibilities. And again, it's proper to consult your own due diligence as well as your own legal to be able to move forward in any specific decisions you guys make over time. So again, today's summit uh, is basically in some of us like myself. I'm based here in Silicon Valley, in California, in the US. As I mentioned, actually in Silicon Valley is of more than 30 years. So are some of my colleagues like Naeem Zafar, and he would be doing a big portion of the session. He's also based here in Silicon Valley and extremely successful and an entrepreneur as well. And so are Naeem Raza Saab and Shahab. So there are 4 people who are from Silicon Valley joining this 2-hour session in various different sections. And then we have invited also our companion on the legal side, Ahmed Azhar Saab, जो लाहौर में based हैं, but लेकिन has been involved in early stage startups and other late stage startups and funding process and the legal aspect. So it would be good to get a legal view as well from Azhar Saab as well. Can you go to the next chart, please? So the agenda is actually, and Hassan Sayed was going to MC, but he's not feeling well. So I will be doing just the overall coordination as well. And I will mention about what the whole purpose of Aspire Pakistan is, which is the broader platform that Pak Angels work in. And then I will talk about why startups and why we have started Pak Angels as a platform, and what's the purpose of Pak Angels. After that, I will be requesting Naeem Zafar to really provide a lot more detail in terms of what about angel investing, what what are the pros, what are the advantages, and what are the contributions and angel investors to make, and what are the risk factors and how to mitigate those risk factors, and what are the different structures that can be taken to invest properly. And as I mentioned, Naeem would be asking some question to Uzair Saab to cover some of the legal aspect of things. And then we'll have a panel discussion where additional colleagues and like Naeem Raza Saab or Shahab Saab भी join करेंगे Naeem Zafar के साथ और मेरे साथ. And then we'll go through some of these additional questions and maybe ask some questions and from the audience they can provide in the chat group as well. With that, let me start on Aspire Pakistan. Aspire Pakistan was founded by Hassan Sayed, who's not feeling well. Apology for that one. And was joined by many overseas Pakistanis about 2.5 years ago. Was named as a Pak 100 first, but now it's been expanded to really the whole objective is many overseas Pakistanis and many local domestic Pakistanis, they feel very, very passionate about Pakistan, to see a prosperous Pakistan, to see a growth on a growth path, as many other countries have been on the growth path. And as part of that thing, the startups has become such an essential tool, which was well established through the Silicon Valley, which developed trillions of dollars of economy through the startups, and started here in Silicon Valley in California. Now it's being expanded to many different countries. So it has become, so the Aspire Pakistan, one of the very important goal is to how to build the culture in Pakistan, has been working nationwide with more than 100 different universities and other educational institutions, businesses, and different associations and the government to be able to drive this kind of culture in Pakistan, so that anyone in Pakistan, whether man or woman, or whether it's a simple and uh, uh, graduate from right out of the school, or doesn't have to be a rich person to be able to take the idea that person may have and turn that idea into a successful venture. That's the whole objective of startup culture, and that culture is very important to develop in terms of driving towards uh, uh, toward the success, is through the whole life cycle of startup needs to be supported. So I just want to share a chart here on this, how the trend of the startups has really started growing. It started from the US, mostly in Silicon Valley and New York and Boston. Uh, and, uh, and now, as you can see, many other countries let me start with the right after the USA. If you can see, more than 70,000 startups are in the USA, but much bigger number is China. As you see on the left side, is China has more than 600,000 startups, which are, in fact, a much larger number than that, which are really has been growing very, very fast. And there are more than 11,000 incubation centers in China. So you can see that not only on one side on track, China has been on a manufacturing path, but on the other side, it has gone on to the innovation and building new products and groundbreaking products through encouraging the startups environment culture in China, which has done very, very successfully. And besides China, if we can stay with the last chart for a moment. Yeah. Besides China, then India as well also has gone on to the journey of these startups. They right now, last 2021 number was about 13,000, but now is about 88,000 startups. And if to put in perspective, in 2016, just about 7 years ago, they had only 640 startups. So it's major change that you're seeing, that the trend is growing very, very fast. So are many other countries and the regions that have been working and expanding into the startup. Let's go to the next chart, please. And just to put it in perspective, how these startups, they contribute into any economy of a country. Let's look at the US. Just 4 startups, and some of these names are very common name now: Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Tesla. They contribute more than $3 trillion of valuation today. And that was more than 5 trillion just about a year and a half ago as well. So just just 4 startups. They were all started as a very small team, a team of 2 people, 3 people or so, and what they have become. Why? Because they started with the innovative products, they started with the disruptive models, and to be able to really make a difference, not only in terms of economy point of view and for the country like US, but globally for every consumer around the world. So is now China. Alibaba, you have heard, many people, they must have used Alibaba as well, and Tencent, which is Alipay, and TikTok, which every day some of us, and we see the TikTok, and they started an innovative way how video engagement is done. And those things also stack up to about a $1.97 trillion dollar valuation. And again, there are thousands of startups now in China. These are and so is the case in India, for example. Flipkart, Paytm, Ola, and Zomato, they stack up to 776 and $1 billion of valuation. So this trend is going to continue to grow. Let's go to the next chart. So this chart, this is some alignment problem. So this is the first time I'm using a team here. But however, this chart on the right, if you really look at it, no, just go back to the last chart, please. Naeem, can you put it in the presentation mode, please? Yeah, thank you. So if you really look at it on the right side, this shows 2011, 2016, 2021, just last 10 years. The startup scene was only in San Francisco, you can see, and some very early stage in Beijing in China. If you really look at the very light dot. And then just about 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago in 2016, you see that it started growing in in the US, in China, in London, and it was still very little in other countries. Now, if you look at the 2021 view, the number of startups are growing very, very fast. So this aspect of things, which is really important. But the second very important aspect is, if you look in China, that most of our 66% of investments in China in the startups is done by Chinese own local people. So $44 billion was invested by the Chinese nationals in Chinese startup in 2020. And so is the case of Indian nationals. They have invested $6 billion locally in the Indian startups so to 2021. So this trend of not only getting investment into startup from outside of the country, but people, they have recognized the value of the startups and how it can not only help the country economy, not only it can help in getting the better products out to the consumer and businesses, but also it's equally very important to benefit from the profit from these startups. So many of these locals have started to recognize that. And yeah, please go to the next chart. So this is a chart shows also on Pakistan as well. Alhamdulillah, there's a trend also started to move in right direction for Pakistan. In 2021, there was more than 325 million, but somewhere around 370 million was invested, which was altogether over last 10 years was more than that. So 2021 and some momentum was done in 2022 as well. And but the number of startup we are seeing it is continue to grow in Pakistan as well. So we are on a good path. So that's why we have really started to educate our community of not only overseas Pakistanis, but high net worth Pakistani locally in Pakistan as well. What that means for the startups and what that means for the country and what it means for the profit returns that the investors can enjoy investing into the startup, as many other countries and they have started to prove very, very positively with that. Next chart, please. So it comes down to the whole ecosystem, right? To in a startup, not only a great idea, not only a team that needs to come in together, and they have to get proper education, they get the proper advising roles, and and the mentorship. But then also they have to get funding as well at various different cycles. Early stage cycle of a startup is the most important part of the funding, because that's where it requires a proper due diligence. It requires a proper understanding of what that target markets are, and what the idea is all about and everything also. And that's what's the whole purpose of Park Angels that we have put together as part of Aspire Pakistan, as an entity that's going to provide a platform that brings angel investors, startups, and the advisors together to be able to meet and then be able to do a transaction that becomes highly beneficial for all three parties. Why all three parties? And as investors, they will benefit in terms of gains. Advisor, they will benefit having equity in the companies as well, so they will also benefit the reward. And so is the startups. And if that idea is turned out to be and executed very well, can be a huge success, inshallah ta'ala. With that, let's go to what the Park Angels is all about. So that's the three purposes that we want to provide as part of Park Angels and a platform. One is to really bring the overseas and local Pakistanis on a platform to explore these great startups that the platform will qualify and present to them and be able to decide to whether they would like to invest into those startups directly. Number two, a platform for the startups to go and be able to apply for the funding, and they go through in a proper process of filtration by the experienced entrepreneurs and be able to only to choose those startups to present to the investors who that are ready for investment. But then all other startups that we are not presented to the investor, we will be working with them, helping them so that they can be ready for the next time to be able to get invested. So this cycle is a purpose to really feed everyone, not only angel investor, but also the startups as well. But most importantly, to make them ready is to bring the advisors closer to that thing. The team is the most important part that has a proper experience, proper great idea, and execution, operational experience, all that come together. And that can be achieved by bringing a mentorship and the advisors onto the team. And that's what this platform would be also doing, and enabling that thing. So with that kind of equation, we believe that as we have seen in other platform incubation platform or these early stage and angel investing platform, that we can put these startups on a good path of success. And the last thing I would mention that we not only once the startup get invested, then we follow up with those startups and be able to monitor them, their performance, their success, and be able to communicate back to the angel investors so that they have a proper channel to be able to have a visibility on these startups and be able to see their investment grow and succeed with time. The last chart, please. Our objective has been into, obviously there are many different opportunities, but these are some of those verticals that we Aspire Pakistan has been focusing. As you have heard, for the National Idea Bank, which brings ideas into startup mode through a competition process, and then helping those ideas and startups and other startups be able to get invested. So whether they are in services, hospitality, automotive, manufacturing, education, very, very important, natural resources, healthcare, information technology, which is broad, and agriculture. But the important point I want to make is as we moving forward, the technology, especially in artificial intelligence and the digitalization, is becoming an essential part of every vertical sector, every industry sectors, you name it, you're going to see a technology application into it. So that's why the technology goes across all these different verticals, but then information technology on its own has its own track as well. So with that, I think, and I'm going to ask as the next session with the Naeem Zafar to be able to take that thing and cover in terms of what this means for angel investing. Thank you.
Thanks, Anwar. Maybe we should answer a few questions. We have 4 minutes on the agenda.
Okay, excellent.
In case people have like confused by your presentation, who knows? Azam looks confused.
Pardon?
No, I'm just teasing him. I say Azam looked confused. So.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. May I ask a question, please?
Yes, please.
Have you developed a website? How do you plan to reach out to all the startups?
So yes, we have developed the website, which is parkangels.com, number one. And we are already working about 250 startups. We started that journey 2.5 years ago. So not only those startups that we have worked with, and some of those startups, and they came out from the National Idea Bank cohorts that we have run for 2 years in a row. At the same time, we also in touch with Ignite, which manages many incubation centers in Pakistan, which is a semi-government organization, and be able to invite startups through that channel. And so are other many incubation centers that we are in contact. So basically working directly as well as through incubation centers. And then we would be in making a marketing campaign to be able to reach out to any other startups that are not connected to these venues that we are already connected with. So parkangels.com website, you go in there, there's a section for the startups that you can fill out a form and be able to participate there. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe, Anwar, it might be useful for people who will not be familiar with Aspire in general, just ask a couple more words on Aspire and show how Aspire and Park Angels are connected with other programs.
So I think I went through that one earlier, but let me answer your question. That again, it is important that Aspire Pakistan is the bigger platform, that the whole objective is to enable startup culture in Pakistan. To enable startup culture in Pakistan, there are 3 different initiatives or programs that Aspire Pakistan has. One of the programs that we just started is Park Angels. Again, I've shared what's the purpose of Park Angels is. Another program which has been running very well is the National Idea Bank, which is managed by Azam, and that whole idea of National Idea Bank is to proactively invite young people, not only the graduates from from the different universities, but also anyone who has an idea in those 8 different sectors that I shared, be able to see their idea, what the solution they think they have for a local or indigenous problems in Pakistan, and be able to run through a competition which goes at the city level, then provincial level, and national level. And those the winning ideas that they get rewarded. And 2 years in a row, they were rewarded by the president of Pakistan, Dr. Alvis Saab. And not only then we get those winning ideas awarded, but also help them to turn those winning ideas into startups. And this is, this Archangels is one of the next steps after that one. The third program, which is
Anwar Khan Sahib, there are 2 hand raised. So if you can also ask those gentlemen to ask their questions.
Okay. So let me just add one more just to complete Azam's questions. The third program is to provide boot camps and education and trainings to these early stage teams, and be able to help them to understand the whole entrepreneurship journey, and what are the different aspects of the experience that they need to have, that we go through those boot camps as well. Okay, so with that, question is, do we have enough time? Name, and I'll let you decide whether we should get started and come back to those questions.
नहीं यार पूछ ले, कभी क्वेश्चन कर लेते हैं, जल्दी से छोटे जवाब दो ना, जरा पूछ लो, चेक कर लो.
जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, this is Arif. I'm from Canada, Toronto, Canada. I just wanted to ask that the basic startup seems a promising way to move forward, but I think the basic challenge what we have is is the ideation, and we spend a lot of time research in coming up with an idea. So now we come up with the idea, we conceptualize the idea, we assess the business aspects, we formalize the technical architecture. So how once we are submitting that idea or documentation to the startups, right, for your assessment, how as a startup we are sure that that ideation is not leaked or is not compromised? So I wanted to ask what steps or measures you guys are taking to ensure, first is the confidentiality, the second is the security, and third is like our ideation is not compromised. So maybe that might not be the right, but that was my apprehension. So I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I think first, I always encourage people, if you have a great idea, especially in the countries like Canada or US or other ones, that you should try to apply a patent for it, so that you can protect, because one way or the other, you will have to talk about your ideas to people and investors and many other people. So I think that would be, I continue to encourage that thing. And there's a simple way to apply patent, is the provisional patent application. You should look at it, number one. Number two is Spark Angels platform. This is very important, that all of the ideas as they come into that, they are being reviewed by only a few people, and the confidentiality in that respect are kept to some extent. There's a be able to, and those not only the reviews are done by the specific people of Spark Angels, but then presentation as you would make to the investor would be the two very specific investors that are part of the Spark Angels who have signed up with us or so. So I think we expect that that ideas would be typically, and this is by the way is a typical process to in any investing process that you go through, because many investors, they typically would not sign NDA unless you go very deeper into implementation approach and everything or so. At the very high level, typically NDA means non-disclosure agreements, they typically would not sign. So I think, but our objective is to maintain some level of confidentiality to provide the level of comfort that you're seeking at this moment.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So
And Anwar, I have a quick question.
I'd like to add something to his answer.
Please, Naeem, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I want to say is that, important to have patents, but there are two issues. Most things you think are patentable are not patentable. To patent something, you have to meet 3 criteria. Has to be unique, never done before, has to be useful, has to be non-obvious. या आप चरवाहे पे बैठे बैठे आपको बेशुमार आते हैं आइडिया के यार ये पैटर्न कर देंगे पैटर्न और किसी से बात ना करना पैटर्न करेंगे पहले कोई पैटर्न नहीं यार बात करो काम करो एक्सिक्यूट करो yeah there are few things which are very unique and patentable and yes Anwar has about 65 patents he can speak to that Azam has about 92 patents he can speak to that but I have one patent took me 40 years to get one Azam
So I
बताइए
think that's important. By the way, that's a very important point that Naeem has raised. That I think the idea has to be very unique to be patentable, and those are the ideas that you want to worry about as well. Most of the other ones, and I think you may not worry about too much in terms of because so much is being done. So yeah, please let's go to the next question.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, okay. Please.
Sorry. Yeah. So quick question on that part is if you are going to talk about that later, that's fine. My question is that just from Park Angel's perspective, for last 2.5 years or so with those ideas, do we have a prospects or something like what happened? Do we sponsor some idea and where is it that? Is that part of our presentation? We can wait for that. I just want to
Okay,
ask that question.
so Park Angels, I think it's important that we just launching Park Angels now, right? To be able to have the ideas or at least to startup being invested, and also connect them with the advisors as well. However, Aspire Pakistan has been working with multiple startups of over last 2.5 years. We've been helping them, have gone them through the boot camps as well, help them. And some of them, they have got good recognition. They have won some of the awards as well. And in this session, we are not showcasing any of those startups, but however, we will be doing additional session in future that we will be showcasing some of those startups that have really gained and to really show that what's really coming out of from Pakistan as a country in this the productive the cycle that it has gone on to startups as well.
Okay. Can I ask one question, please?
Yes, please. And I think let's take the last question and then we'll go to the names of the session. Okay,
It's
please.
about so there are 2-3 things I note down from the conversation we just had. One is this about incubation and boot camp only, or a young or a graduate participating in the program, or it's about the senior or experienced corporate after a corporate job and then after doing some serial entrepreneurship in 1 or 2, whether we can raise funding or not. And I just want to know what kind of, if this is about a pre-seed funding, how can we raise a pre-seed funding for an idea? As far as the guy and the gentleman asked about the uniqueness or a patent of idea, there are a lot of ideas we know. There are a lot of ideas which are.
I think let's keep it to the question. I would like to answer your main question. Yes, and this Park Angel is for any startups, where early stage startup, which is important, early stage startups, whether started by young people who have great ideas, or started by very experienced people, maybe in a doesn't matter what age they may be, and they have a great idea and they want to turn that idea into start, but they are also in early stage. So both are in early stage. They need the early investment. Now, some of the senior people, they may have enough funds on their own. They may decide to, apply their own funds and be able to get through and not ask for this pre-seed funding. Some of them they do, but not all of them they are able to do that. Even experienced people, they are not able to do that. So that's why Park Angels wants to provide a platform to any of those early stage investors, early stage startups, whether started by experienced people or by the young people. Okay.
And it
So guys-
ranges between what is the kind of if there is the bar or a range we can set aside put aside a number, which is like, for example, if we started a pre-seed investment of our own 1 crore rupee Pakistani rupees or 2 crore or 1 lakh dollar, and then we can, early stage investment, we can go for a pre-seed funding for 1 million or 2 million.
Yeah. So I think
That
this is important. Maybe Naib Zafar would touch on that thing as well. This early stage investment is the pre-seed funding. Pre-seed funding
Yes,
is
yes.
really when you need funding to develop a product, which is called referred as MVP, minimum viable product, and get early customer traction. Once you have that thing, then you are ready for seed funding. Once you have a good revenue going, then you are ready for the round A funding, VC funding, and all of those. VC funding could become through seed funding as well, but this one is a pre-seed angel funding.
Yeah, I'm going to cover that, and we are,
yeah, please.
let's get to the
Okay, done,
here.
because
done.
we are going
Okay.
off track here.
Yeah.
Purpose of
Okay,
this
sir.
session is
Okay,
different than what
please.
you guys are asking.
Okay.
This is not
Okay,
about
sir,
Pakistani
continue.
ecosystem. This is not about how do you start a company. That's not this session. This session is to tell you that there's a good way for you to invest your money, could be startups. And how do you invest in startup? This session is to teach you how to become an angel investor. This is not a session to teach you how to start a business. That's a different session. So what Anwar has done, he has set up this Pak Angel as an organization, which is going to help create an ecosystem. It's going to encourage people, अमीर लोगों के जो पैसे होते हैं, कितने प्लॉट लोगे यार, प्लॉट ले लिए, वो पर्चियां ले ली हैं, अभी स्टार्टअप में डालो, उसमें भी ऐसे बनते हैं. वो this is about teaching you how to invest in a startup company.
That's very
so
good.
this
And this is Rizwan Lodhi from Chicago. I think let's set some basic, ground rules. I raised my hand probably 15 minutes ago and nobody was paying attention. And then I have been texting with another, participant here, and he's doing Rome as the Romans do. So let's, I think this was Naeem who was talking. So let's stay focused. I'm going to let my question go at this point. Let's move forward with the presentation. And whoever needs to ask a question, raise your hand.
Yeah,
Do we
absolutely.
all agree?
I agree.
Okay, yes, please proceed with the presentation.
Yeah,
Thank
raise your hand and lower your hand when you're not done asking, and ask the question in the chat. Then that's one way to get to it. So because we have a lot to cover, there are people waiting here to be on the panel. They'll get bored.
Let's finish the presentation
please go ahead and
first,
start.
then whoever the questions have.
Yeah, thank you, Rizwan. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rizwan. Let's move forward, sir. Okay, Naeem, please go ahead.
Anji.
Thank you.
So, Janab, what I'm hoping to do in the next 20 minutes is to give you a framework कि कैसे startup में invest करते हैं. I'm an investor myself in about 20 companies, and I've started and worked at 7 companies. So I'm teach entrepreneurship and finance, entrepreneurial finance in multiple universities. So I have something and have some knowledge on this topic. So again, what we're telling you here is basically the information. We're giving you knowledge. We're not telling you investment advice. So what is the point? These are the topics I want to cover. That what is angel investing? ये फरिश्ते होते कैसे हैं? क्या करते हैं फरिश्ते बारी? और ये कैसे इन्वेस्ट करते हैं? कंपनी का स्टेटस क्या होता है और कैसे आपको रोल क्या होता है? So basic ideas, angel investing होता है कि you invest some money in a company and you get some ownership. You basically buying some number of shares. Now every company which has started that I know in the world has started by initially founders putting some money, उसके बाद early angel investor putting some money in. Because जो professional investor होते हैं, venture capitalist, they want to come कि गाड़ी जरा हलनी शुरू हो गई है तो फिर आएंगे ना. अब तो गाड़ी खड़ी है, अंदर के पहिए भी हैं, इंजन भी है कि नहीं है, जरा गाड़ी चलाओ, जरा मूव कर रही है, फिर लोग आ जाएंगे. So the first initial movement when you from an idea कि गाड़ी जो कि मूव कर सकती है पहले गियर में, doesn't have to go high speed, पहले गियर में तो काम चल रही है, then they will put money in. So this is the whole point. So venture capitalists, they're not angel investor. Venture capitalists are investing other people's money. Angel investors are rich people who want to invest their own money. They have 2 reasons why they want to invest. One, they want to make some more money because real estate में प्लॉटें ले लेके आप बोर हो जाती हैं. Number 2, उनके पास knowledge है. They have started companies, they have built businesses. जब आप अमीर होते हैं और बुढ़े हो जाते हैं, आपको कोई कोई से आपको पूछता नहीं है, आपके पास नॉलेज है, आप देना चाहते हैं, ये कोई आपको सवाल ही करे, सवाल करने वाले लोग नहीं होते हैं, आपको इग्नोर कर देते हैं। आज़म रसूल को देखो, इतना नॉलेज है, उसे कोई सवाल ही नहीं करता। तो दिस इज हिज फ्रस्ट्रेशन कि भाई मुझे पूछो तो कोई, मैं तुम्हें बताऊंगा। That's what angel invest. That's why the reason invest. They have a emotional reason to invest. So your question is, once you have काम हो रहा है, गाड़ी चलनी शुरू हो गई है, कंपनी में कुछ आ रहे हैं कस्टमर, आपको समझ आ गई है, then you go to the venture capitalist, then you raise bigger money, करोड़ों रुपए की बात होती है। तो ये चक्कर है, ये सिस्टम होता है। तो एंजल इन्वेस्टर में hopefully they also want to diversify their investment. They want to leverage their know-how. And also, they feel good. Hey, I helped start that company. Look, this company has done very well. I was part of that. So that is basically it. And all of us who are involved here, like Anwar, Azim, Naeem, we have professionally done well. Some of you will be suspicious. ये लोगों का चक्कर क्या है? क्या करना चाहते हैं? Fact is, I need nothing. खुदा ने जो दे दिया काफी है। मैं कितने कपड़े पहन लूंगा, कितनी खाने खा लूंगा, लड्डू कितने खा लूंगा, I'm done. हम just want to give back some knowledge. कुछ साल रह गए हैं, बस थोड़ी बात है, जो लेना ले लो। So चक्कर ये है कि in angel investing is also very profitable. तो ये चार्ट आपको देख रहे हैं ना, आप कहाँ पैसे डाल सकते हैं। अब राइट हैंड में देखो, आप स्टॉक मार्केट में डाल सकते हो। डिफरेंट इंडेक्स है, NASDAQ 100 है, S&P 500 है। उनका एनुअल रिटर्न accumulated after last 20, 30, 40 years about 10-11% सालाना। लेकिन आप एंजल इन्वेस्टर में देखें, ये जो काली है लाइन, ये about 27%. So my point is, it's not कि आप दिल की खुश करने के लिए कर रहे हैं. Actually, it is more profitable because you're taking more risk. Very early stage companies, not all of them will work, many will die, but 10 में करोगे तो 1-2 में chances हैं कुछ हो सकता है. मेरी जिंदगी में मैंने, I think I've invested in maybe 25 companies in my life. So far, 4 have made money, 8 have died. बाकियों का भी देखना है कि क्या होता है. So, it's not bad. It's done well, but you cannot rely on this. So, let's understand how होता कैसे है. आपके पास कोई आइडिया है, आपने पहले चेक करते हैं कि भाई ये आइडिया बाकी काम करने वाला है कि नहीं. आप मार्केट रिसर्च करते हैं, कुछ कस्टमर से बात करते हो, फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता कोई प्रोटोटाइप होता है, प्रोडक्ट डेवलपमेंट, then you start selling some customer, then you start scaling. If everything goes well, ये चक्कर takes anywhere from 6 months to 6 years. It's not quick. So what you do is you raise money in chunks. You raise money enough to get to the next gate, और थोड़ा सा buffer, because कंपनी की वैल्यू बढ़ जाती है. उसके बाद you raise enough money, you go to the next gate, थोड़ा सा बढ़ जाता है. So this is the typical process. So in every stage, there are different source of money. एक बंदा नहीं देता आपको. शुरू में होते हैं, आपको चाहिए लाख रुपए, 5 लाख रुपए just to get started. वो friends and family से आएगा. Because इतने छोटे पैसे आपको एंजल इन्वेस्टर भी ज्यादा नहीं देते. वो माँ बाप दोस्त कुछ करके ना इकट्ठा अपनी सेविंग से, जब थोड़ा सा बन जाता है, फिर देन यू गो टू एंजल इन्वेस्टर्स टू गेट समथिंग मूविंग. जब उससे भी आपका मजीद प्रोग्रेस होती है, फिर प्रोफेशनल इन्वेस्टर, वेंचर कैपिटल इंटरेस्टेड होते हैं. सो एंड इट ऑल्सो डिपेंड आप कितने पैसे रेज कर रहे हो. मैंने डॉलरों की बात कर रहा हूँ यहाँ. सो आई व्हेनेवर आई स्टार्टेड अ कंपनी, माय लास्ट कंपनी, पहले कोई $1 लाख मैं अपनी जेब से डाले थे. उससे मैंने फिर कुछ लोग हायर कर दिए, कुछ इंटर्न हायर कर लिए, कि थोड़ा सा प्रोटोटाइप बन गए. फिर मैंने एंजल इन्वेस्टर में $1 मिलियन रेज कर लिया 4-5 लोगों से. फिर उससे मैंने प्रोडक्ट बनाई, फिर वेंचर कैपिटल आ गए, उन्होंने फिर $6.5 मिलियन डाले. तो इस तरह से होता है. सो इवन विथ सीरियस पीपल, दिस इज द स्टेजेस यू गो थ्रू. सो इफ यू थिंक अबाउट दैट, as you raising money, how do you raise money? You sell ownership in the company. So it's not uncommon. शुरू में आप जब स्टार्ट करते हो, आप ये 1 बंदा या 2 बंदे या 3 बंदे फाउंडर्स थे, आपके पास लेट्स से 75-80% आपका होगा, लेकिन 10-15-20% आप सेट असाइड करते हैं कि आपने टू अट्रैक्ट अदर की एम्प्लॉइज. उनके पैसे तो आपके पास टाइट होते हैं. आप बड़ी बड़ी तनख्वाह 5-5 लाख 10-10 लाख की तनख्वाह तो नहीं दे सकते. तो आप देते हैं कि थोड़ी तनख्वाह पैसे किए जाएं, लेकिन आपको मैं ओनरशिप दे दूंगा. तो ऐसा ऐसा होता है. देन यू इन्वेस्टर आते हैं, फिर अब यू सेल सम शेयर्स टू द इन्वेस्टर्स, एंड आपके जो परसेंट ओनरशिप श्रिंक होती है, लेकिन प्राइस पर शेयर इज गोइंग अप, तो आपकी वेल्थ गोज अप. सो मैंने जब लास्ट कंपनी स्टार्ट की थी, शुरू में हमने लिए थे, तो मैंने उसमें 2.5 सेंट्स पर शेयर के हिसाब से पैसे रेज किए थे. लेकिन जब इन्वेस्टर को भेजा पहली दफा तो वो 65 सेंट्स पर शेयर था, सेकंड टाइम भेजा तो 88 सेंट्स पर शेयर था। तो मेरी परसेंट ओनरशिप कम हुई लेकिन शेयर प्राइस बढ़ रही थी। अच्छा, so I'm going to give you an example, but let me pause here to see any questions so far. We are halfway there, so just want to make sure that any questions come up so far. चलें। अच्छा, अब ये टिपिकली कैसे होता है? टिपिकली ऐसे होता है कि आप जब कंपनी सेटअप करते हैं ना, तो आप मेरे एग्जांपल में
सॉरी
जी
आई वाज म्यूट में वेरी क्विक क्वेश्चन आपने 25 कंपनियों में इन्वेस्ट किया है, वुड लव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट एज एन एंजल इन्वेस्टर आपका उन कंपनीज में इन्वॉल्वमेंट क्या होगी, बिकॉज टू वे ट्रैफिक है, सो वुड लव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आप क्या देना चाहते हैं और फाउंडर्स का की तरफ से कितने रिसेप्टिव होते हैं। सो मे बी यू कैन आंसर बोथ साइड्स।
Yeah, that's easy to answer. And short answer is it depends on the situation. Out of the 25 companies, maybe half of them, I was a silent investor. I liked the company, liked the idea, put the money, and just wait for email to come, 2-3 times a day, update kya hai. Or there was no other involvement. That's it, and that's fine. There were 5-6 companies when I was asked to be on the board or as an advisor. So I'll meet with the company once a month, once every 2 months. They'll have a 1-hour session. कोई problem हो मुझे call कर ली, मैंने अपनी advice दे दी. I'm not driving the bus. I'm not running the company. I have my own problems to solve. So you're available as an advisor. You don't have a big role to play. पाकिस्तान में लोग अपनी 10 लाख रुपए देते हैं, कहते हैं यार अब तो मैं कुर्सी पे बैठा हूँ, आगे मुझे सलाम कर। ऐसा नहीं होता। अच्छा, back to the slide. So typically this is a typical example कि आपने कंपनी सेटअप कर दी है, आपकी है bunch of authorized shares, लेकिन आपने you buy as a founder, let's say in this case 3 million shares. आप 2 बंदे थे, आपने काफी शेयर प्राइस बहुत कम रखी हुई थी क्योंकि कंपनी स्टार्ट हो रही है, तो 1 टके का शेयर था, आपने उसके हिसाब से कुछ टकों के पैसे लेके आपने 3 मिलियन शेयर लिए, 1 मिलियन सेट असेट के लिए कि जो आएंगे मेरे फेवरेट प्रोफेसर, कोई एडवाइजर, कोई कंसल्टेंट, कोई एम्प्लॉय, उनमें से इनको थोड़ा थोड़ा ओनरशिप देता जाऊंगा। तो मिलियन कोई बंदा हायर किया, उसको 50,000 शेयर उसको दे दिए, एक चाहिए था वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ सेल चाहिए था, उसको 1 लाख शेयर वहां दे दिए, तो वो मिलियन शेयर सेट असाइड किए हुए। अब ऐसा ऐसा जब कंपनी आगे जाएगी, I'll be selling shares. अब जो रेड में देख रहे हैं आप डॉटेड लाइन, I then issued some share to the angel investors. Then I may sell some more shares to the seed investors, Series A, Series B, इस तरह से। तो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता यू कीप सेलिंग मोर शेयर। जब कंपनी स्टार्ट की तो आपके पास सिर्फ 4 मिलियन शेयर इशू किए थे। 4 साल के बाद वो दैट कुड बी 30 लाख, 40 लाख, 100 लाख। तो you'll keep issuing more shares out of thin air. You're not selling your own shares, you just make new shares. That's how it works. So चक्कर ये होता है कि जब आप कहते हैं, आप जाते हैं बंदे के पास कि भाई मुझे आपके पास मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, जैसे आप तो एंजल इन्वेस्टर हैं, तो कोई बंदा आता है कि जी मैंने कंपनी स्टार्ट करनी है, मैं चाहता हूँ मुझे आप 1 करोड़ रुपए डाल दें। अच्छा, 1 करोड़ रुपए डाल देता हूँ, अब आपको कितनी % ओनरशिप को देनी है? Well, that's not easy to answer. ये है क्या, इसकी वैल्यू क्या है? It looks like a black box to them. We don't know what is it. What is the value? 10 crore, 1 crore, 1 lakh, क्या करूँ मैं? So what happens, because venture capitalists can do all kind of spreadsheet and put a price on the company. So this is called a price round. You come up with a market valuation and you buy shares based on the valuation. But चक्कर ये होता है कि जो कंपनी में ना कोई कैश फ्लो है, ना कोई प्रॉफिट है, उसकी वैल्यू डिटरमिन करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है। So जब कंपनी चल रही होती है, पैसे आ रहे होते हैं, then you can do discounted cash flow, you can do some with the valuation. Startup में it's very hard. And most angel investors are rich people, they're not financial wizards, so they don't know how to do that. So option 2 होता है, we'll do something called a convertible note. What is convertible note? Convertible note है यार मुझे अभी पैसे दे दो एज ए लोन, स्पेशल लोन है। जब कोई वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट या अदर इन्वेस्टर कंपनी के वैल्यू प्राइस करेंगे, फिर मेरे ये पैसे कन्वर्ट हो जाएंगे ऑटोमेटिकली शेयर्स में लेटर। सो अभी बात सिंपल है, इट्स ए लोन अगेंस्ट द इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ द कंपनी। जब सेटअप हो जाएगी, और सेटअप नहीं, जब प्रोफेशनल इन्वेस्टर आएंगे, भी कंपनी के वैल्यूएशन क्या है, उसके हिसाब से मेरे जो लोन है उसको कन्वर्ट कर देंगे शेयर्स में। अच्छा, एक थर्ड ऑप्शन भी है, इसे कहते हैं सेल, सिंपल एग्रीमेंट फॉर फ्यूचर इक्विटी। क्यों? क्योंकि कुछ लोग कहते हैं यार ये लोन क्या चक्कर है, ये तो ये हलाल है कि नहीं है। तो वाई कॉम्बिनेटर ने कहा यार इनको छोड़ो, तुम इस लोन को निकाल दो, इंटरेस्ट का बात ही ना करो। ये है जनाब, आप मुझे पैसे देंगे, इसे हलाल शरिया कंप्लाइंट, इट विल कन्वर्ट इनटू इक्विटी व्हेन टाइम कम्स। तो लोन की बात ही ना करो आप। तो इन ऑप्शन नंबर 3 बड़ी पॉपुलर हो रही है पाकिस्तान में, वैसे यहाँ भी पॉपुलर है, ये सिंपल। तो ये इस्तेमाल करते हैं। अच्छा, अब ये है कि एक चक्कर है, मैं कह रहा हूँ, आप मुझसे पैसे मांग रहे हैं अभी अप्रैल में, आप तो रेस करेंगे इन्वेस्टर के साथ नवंबर में, मैं तो बहुत रिस्क ज्यादा ले रहा हूँ, अब मुझे क्या फायदा। अच्छा, उसका तरीका, जवाब, यार आप फिक्र ही ना करें, जो भी इन्वेस्टर के पैसे प्राइस पर शेयर होगा आपको 20% डिस्काउंट दूंगा। मसलन अगर बाद में जब प्राइस कंपनी वैल्यूएशन होगी, वो लोग कहेंगे जी हमारे 20 रुपए पर शेयर के हिसाब से हम पैसे इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, आपकी प्राइस 16 की होगी, 16 रुपए की, 20% डिस्काउंट, सो यू गेट मोर शेयर्स। So this is how you satisfy angel investor. It's okay to put money in now using SAFE or a convertible note, and you're gonna get a discount when other people put money. Now this is negotiable. It's not fixed. This is typical. आप कह रहे हैं यार अभी 1 महीने में मैं करने वाला हूँ, ये बातचीत हो रही है अपने 2-3 हफ्ते की बात है, तो अभी डिस्काउंट की बात ना करो, ठीक है। कोई कहा जी आप तो 1.5 साल हो गए अभी तक अपने पैसे रेज नहीं किए, वो 20% तो कम है, आप मुझे 30% डिस्काउंट दे, वो भी हो सकता है। So there's some negotiation, but typically it's 20% बात खत्म। अच्छा, so now before I go to the last topic, आप कैसे मैनेज करते हैं, let me pause here and answer any question about valuation and method क्या होता है। आप muted हैं अनवर, आप muted, अनवर you're muted।
So नहीं, मैंने what I suggest कि जब आप उज़ैर के साथ सेशन पे जाएंगे उस वक्त क्वेश्चन लीजिएगा इसके बारे में। So let's move forward।
ठीक है, तो अभी 10 मिनट में हमारा पाकिस्तानी लॉयर भी मंगवा लिया हमने, तो मिल के बात करेंगे, खुल के बात करेंगे। आप 10 मिनट के बाद सब बात कर लेंगे इसके सेफ कैसे होता है। अच्छा, सो नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज कि अभी करते कैसे हैं, इसमें चक्कर क्या होता है कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आपकी मेरी एडवाइस ये है, 1 या 2 कंपनी में डाल के आप फिर रोज एक्स्ट्रा नफल पढ़ना शुरू कर दें कि कुछ हो जाए, पर काम ही होगा, ऐसे नहीं होता। यू हैव टू हैव ए पोर्टफोलियो अप्रोच। Typical portfolio ये कि but we will recommend, Anwar and I, कि you should think about investing in about 10 companies over a period of year or year 1 साल में। Why? Because we don't know which 1 or 2 will do well. Chances are, statistically speaking, 3-4 तो मर जाएंगी, 3-4 आपको कोई पैसे वापस, जो 10 लाख डाले तो 12 लाख वापस आ गए, ठीक है। 1 या 2 have a good chance of really multiplying 10x, 5x. We don't know which one. So you need to have a portfolio approach. Otherwise, you look, my father, he bought 1 stock in 1 company in 20 years. It doesn't work. You have to have a basket. Number 2, you have to do due diligence. What is due diligence? You have to ask a bunch of questions. I'll give you some examples. वरना ऐसे आप एलिवेटर में खड़े होते हैं और 2 लोग बात करते हैं, वहां से आपको आइडिया जाता है, जाके यार ये वो बात कर रहे थे, वो स्टॉक लेते हैं, मैं ले लेता हूँ। Many people invest like that. How do I know? Because I've done the same thing. It's very stupid. Don't do that. You have to do due diligence. So this is what I'm going to talk about. How do you do? Because angel investors' point is you're going to do diversification. That's how you know which one is going to do well. So you don't have to put a lot. Some companies I put $10,000 investment. Some companies I put $25,000. A company मैंने $1.5 lakh भी डाले हुए हैं. But it depends on bunch of factors. So this is some of the numbers which will be good for you to know. कि this is Angel Association, Capital Association के हिसाब से कि people when they do due diligence before the investment is done, the returns are quite good. So deal with the angel investor completed more than 20 hours diligence, उनका return था 5.9 times what they put in. When they did just less than just a few hours of diligence, it was 1.1x. Big difference. So point is, typically about 20-hour due diligence can really pay off. That's the point. So what do I look for? I look for these factors. I want to make sure the guys have a strong vision. Are they committed? Have they really identified a white space, an unmet need, which people are really looking for? कोई करता नहीं है. Then I want to understand, but क्यों नहीं इसको, if there was a white space, you're not the first person who thought of it. What was hard about it? What changed? जी वो इमरान साहब ने वो रेगुलेशन चेंज कर दिया, अब ये लीगल हो गया. अच्छा ठीक है, that makes sense. और अभी क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग आ गया और चैट जीपीटी में बिल करें. ओके, अब पहले नहीं था, अब आ गया, ठीक है. So you need some reason कि अब क्यों हो गया. Then you need to make sure कि आपके पास जो 1 2 3 इनिशियल बंदे हैं, these are A players. A players are like magnatis. They attract other A players. If you have B players, then A players don't want to work for B players. You get very bad team. So really need to make sure कि बंदे driven हैं, smart हैं, उनको क्या drive कर रहा है, कितने motivated हैं. Then you want to make sure they have done their homework. They understand the unit economics, your customer acquisition cost, gross margin, churn rate. So if you ask those questions, वो एक दूसरे की शक्ल देखनी शुरू कर देते हैं, you should be concerned. Because good entrepreneurs have done those thinking. That's why the students don't make good entrepreneurs. Students don't know what they don't know. खूब भाप ज्यादा होती है, पुशल पे खड़े होते हैं, समझता कुछ नहीं आता. So your average entrepreneur को जो उम्र है अमेरिका में is 37 years old. 37, that's average. मतलब आधे उससे भी बुढ़े हैं. Because you have worked in the industry 5-10 साल, आपको समझ होती है कि चक्कर किया है, फिर आप करना चाहते हैं उसको solve. Those make good entrepreneurs. So this is the, आप पूछ रहे थे कि रोल क्या है. This is sort of the process. So you need to make sure you're generating a deal flow. आप universities के साथ बात कर रहे हैं, आप industry के organizers में जा रहे हैं. People are approaching you. So Park Angel wants to be that thing which will generate the deal flow. People know that Park Angel करता है. Then there'll be, among us will set up who has the knowledge in this area. यार एक तरह due diligence कर ले. So they'll lead the due diligence. After that, we all decide कि company is worth investing. Then we will issue like a term sheet. कि ये terms and condition है, 1-2 survey में. And then ideas कि then people will say, अगर एंजल में 10 लोग हैं, तो 3 लोग कहेंगे यार मैं डालने को तैयार हूँ 1-1 लाख. एक बंदा कहता नहीं मैं तो 5 लाख से कम ही डालता. चलो ठीक है, आप कर लो. तो वो then we set up a SPV, special purpose vehicle. People can invest in the company. Then you hire Shahab Saab and he does the legal due diligence and we sign paper and we transfer the money. That's the expectation. And Park Angel is your organization to help you through this process because our goal is to fund, I don't know what is that, 100 companies or 20 companies. That's sort of our big goal in Pakistan. So due diligence में क्या होता है? ये 10-step process है. आप basically मैं यहाँ टाई एंजल के साथ भी एंजल इन्वेस्टर हूँ. तो हमारा प्रोसेस है कि 10 चीज़ों में 1 to 10 स्केल पे हम इवेल्युएट करते हैं. Deal terms, are they favorable? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is very good, 1 don't invest. अच्छा, टारगेट मार्केट कितनी बड़ी, उसका स्कोर क्या है? आज का प्रॉब्लम have they identified, उनका स्कोर क्या है? तो ये on these 10 categories, we assign 1 or 2 people, we rank the company. If the total rank is good, then we decide collectively. So basically, angel में ना 10-20 लोग ग्रुप में होते हैं. हम 2-3 लोग कहते हैं यार तुम जाके करो. वो they come back with a report. Then all of us decide by looking at the report, should we invest or should we not invest? So that's the process we follow. And I'll give you an example of one report in 2 minutes. What is your role as an angel investor? You're not running the company. You have a backseat driver at best. You can give advice, लेकिन steering wheel तो अगले जो चला रहा, आप चला सकते हैं पीछे, ले चलाने से फायदा कोई नहीं होगा. वो गाड़ी बल्कि डिक्स में हो जाएगी. आराम से बैठो, वो चला रहा है. जब वो खड़ा होगा वो गैस लेने के लिए, आप you can replace him, but you cannot jump on the steering wheel. You have to be patient. Only 10 to 20% will make it. Most will die. So be ready for that. So the idea is you do it not because that's your main way of making money. You do it because it's fun to do. For example, I just invested in a company. They're making electric airplane for cargo delivery. Kind of exciting. I don't know. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't. But the idea that I'm into electric airplane, I suppose just to make Azam jealous because that's his area of expertise, aerospace. So, it's going to be fun thing like that. Point is, you should learn the process because by learning the process, you'll realize there's other ways to make money and invest. And that's what we're trying to teach you, basically. So, again, our job as Park Angel and Anwar leading the pack is to facilitate the process, get the legal advisor from Pakistan to help you, make sure we get proper diligence. And hopefully, 10 years, 5 years from now, all of you said, I was one of the few who helped build Pakistan economy. I did something good. Yeah, good to do Hajj, but this is like an entrepreneurial impact which can go like Hajj. much beyond you. So this is sort of the different areas. And of course, a lot of area, we talked about it a few minutes ago, and I'll be happy to take any questions. But I also want to share with you an example of a due diligence report. So this company, just to show you, we did a company, this is supposed to be confidential. We are not sharing with anybody. But Thai Angels, Silicon Valley, we did this is a report that committee we assigned came back with. This was the name of the company. So recommendation was overall positive. Okay, this is one line summary. Then of course there's some the reviewer is an advisor, has committed a seed investment, and with the help of CEO, they gathered the information. Anand Jagannathan did this. He was the reviewer. So then here's a summary. He said Sempra Organic is an agriculture food tech company which do blah blah. They take mushrooms ingredient and make for whatever they do. Companies based here. Here's there's a special purpose vehicle being set up. You have to register to be an investor. So deal terms. Here we're ranking on a scale of 1 to 5. The deal terms were attractive. We ranked it 4.5 out of 5. So 300,000 from Thai Angels, 50 lakh, 50K is committed, rest we are seeking. So give you some details. What are the terms? 4% interest, 15% conversion rate, valuation cap 5 million. So some target market, they gave a 4.5 out of 5. Kaun market hai, how big is the market? Who are they going after? So some links to the thing. How much they can go after? 3.5 billion. Okay, then problem kya hai? Usko 4 out of 5. What is the need? Complexity, customer validation, kitne se baat hui hai? So you can see it's a fairly detailed report. Somebody spends some time writing it and understanding and having the conversation. Per solution, they get 4 out of 5. In single products, Sempra has a platform approach to fungi, grew in processing. Then they give some example. Basically, mushroom leke wo powder se banate hain, wo powder istemal hota hai khane mein. Intellectual property kya hai? Product plan kya hai? Risk kya hai? Koi video bhi hai, jaise they watch kar sakte hain kaise hota hai. Phir business model kya hai? How do they make money? Usme bhi koi detail hai, usko 4 out of 5. So then terms, team kaisi hai? Who's the leaders? Unka kya background hai? LinkedIn profiles. Based on that, they gave a 4 out of 5. Traction kaisi hai company ke saath? They talk to maybe some customer, ye batane some detail, what is the commitment hai? Pipeline kya hai? Kitne log taiyar ho rahe hain? Competitive advantage kaisa hai? Some analysis here with the help of the company. Phir financial kaise lag rahe hain? 3.5 out of 5, not as high as others, but some details, kya hone ka taiyar hai? Revenue kya possibilities hain? Exit opportunity, kaun ko khareed sakta hai? Uske hisab se. So summary hai ki they invested, why invest here? This is the reason to invest, how much to invest. Total score 41 out of 50. So you can see some people spend some time, collected some data, prepared the result, then this distribute to all the angels, and everybody decide कि मैं आऊँगा या नहीं आऊँगा. So this is a fairly detailed process. So I wanted to share with you an example कि ये कैसे करते हैं. So let me pause sharing and answer any questions.
So Naeem, I think we need to go on because we're going to run out of time. So we need to go this session with Uzair.
Yeah.
Ahmed Uzair Saban is on the call.
Yeah.
So Uzair, आप unmute कर लें और फिर I think let's have a dialogue and you can ask the question as well once you feel
और
like.
Uzair अपना घूंघट भी उठा लें.
Unfortunately, I'm outside, so I.
यार outside में क्या उसमें क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Outside हो जाएगा. हमने कहा यार तुम शर्माते क्या हो क्या? आपकी बाल उड़ रहे होंगे तो लोग आपको नफरत करनी शुरू कर देंगे. What's the problem?
I mean, let me see if I can do something about the photo. But yes,
I have to say that Naeem Zafar, आप अपना भी तो घूंघट उठा लें. आपने तो अपने दिखाई. चलें
बोले 2-3 लोगों के हाथ खड़े हुए हैं वैसे by the way. अनवर
चलें हाँ. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah.
अच्छा तो
sure. So Naeem bhai, before you start, I just want to just say a couple of sentences. I've been doing this these kind of dialogues and these kind of conversations for over 10 years, but listening to you has been a breath of fresh air. I've really enjoyed the way that you've explained what angel investing is and what it entails. Would love to just look at the same picture but with a legal lens. So, and I particularly requested Anwar Saab that I wanted this to be a dialogue as opposed to a one-way traffic. So would love for you to pose questions and who you think that as an angel, the legal questions may arise, and I'm more than happy to answer them.
अच्छा ठीक है.
Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
So I think जो हाथ खड़े हैं, should we address some of the questions? Shazana, Mansoor, and other people.
उज़ैर को थोड़ा सा 5 मिनट 2 मिनट कवर करने दें, फिर उसके बाद क्वेश्चन.
अच्छा, I thought Uzair was saying that he wanted to. वैसे मेरा कैमरा काम नहीं कर रहा?
नहीं, आपका बंद है कैमरा.
I don't know what happened. Okay, sorry about that.
Uzair, your decision.
Maybe we can move to questions. No, we can move to questions. It's absolutely fine. Let's see what the questions are. If they relate to me, I'll be more than happy to answer.
चलो ठीक है. चलें, Shazana, do you want to start or Shahzad? Who's this person? I can only see the first few letters.
ठीक है. I have a question on that. Just trying to relate that basically with that, the National Idea Bank will produce some ideas, and afterwards will come to that platform where the people will have opportunity to be the investor in perspective. What is the role for Park Angel? Is it a plan that a platform where people are there who will help in due diligence, and pool of people out of 4 or 5 or 10 will become a investor angel, the umbrella of that Park Angel at a company or an individual level?
This is exactly right. Our job is to facilitate. So we will facilitate. So at least अगर startup हो, यार वैसे आप mute कर लो अपने आप को, क्योंकि a lot of feedback is coming. So everybody can mute. It'll be nice. If this was Zoom, I would have muted everybody, but this stupid Teams doesn't have the controls. अच्छा, आपकी बात सही है कि we are a platform. हमारे 3 objectives हैं. One is to educate Pakistani people that how to become an angel investor. Number 2, deal flow. So you can come here कि भाई कौन सी कंपनी है, कोई है मेरे पास कुछ पैसे पड़े हैं, मैं क्या करूं? And then we can hopefully teams are coming to us and we can expose them to you. And third is to help facilitate the due diligence and legal process so your money is invested properly. Those are our 3 objectives of Park Angel. But Anwar, this is your answer. Really, I'm speaking out of turn.
No, that's exactly true. And the whole idea is to facilitate that on one side we provide a funnel of multiple startups, and we evaluate and then surface only few startups which have a proper scoring as a name shared. On other side, bring these overseas and local domestic investors as an individual level, because this is all angel funding. This is a personal money that is being invested, and have them exposed to those startups and be able to decide on which one they would like to invest based on the due diligence and the ratings that we provide through Park Angel's platform. Okay, next question.
I think I don't see the hands up. Do you?
Mr. Irfan Zulfikar, the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, this is Irfan.
Mr. Irfan Zulfikar.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is, I understand that, all the 3 steps about Park Angels, but I was curious that, let's say, if I do not want to indulge into evaluating everything and I trust that the Park Angel is doing this thing, so I can just transfer the money to Park Angels and they can invest into the portfolio, like a portfolio management kind of a role, and they can invest into multiple companies. And what we can get is we can get only the risk percentage, something like that, and then whatever the return is, something like mutual fund.
No, we understand, but we're not doing that. We're not going to do that. We're not doing it. We will not do it. That's not our purpose. Okay. That's not our objective. That's somebody else's job. That is too much risk for us to take. We're not fund managers. We're entrepreneurs. So short answer is no.
I think this also important.
Yeah, there is a legal side to this as well. You're not allowed to provide financial advice. This is basically angels coming together, pooling resources and identifying opportunities and investing together. So if somebody is providing financial advice without obtaining the necessary license, then that would be violating SEC regulations.
Asif sir?
Right, but so I think I just want to piggyback on that question. This is again Rizwan from Chicago. So, I mean, I think the intent of the question was really not legal advice or, money investment. If somebody can't participate actively, so if I'm hearing correctly, this is not for them.
Correct.
Okay, so you have to be an active, not
No,
only
let's
investor.
define active. Active means that you will make the decision to invest in a company, we will not make your decision for you. That's all the activity we accept. We don't need to be any more active than that. But this is not a mutual fund. Our job is to present you opportunity. You will decide कि लेना है कि नहीं लेना है. That's all the activity. After that, you can be silent for the rest of your investment period.
तो वो जो हम इन्वेस्टमेंट करेंगे वो उस कंपनी के साथ डायरेक्ट करेंगे, पार्क एंजल्स को हम कोई पैसा नहीं देंगे.
Bilkul. I think this is very important. So there's an investment is done by the investor directly into the startup company. The money does not flow through Park Angels. Park Angels facilitates bringing that startup and the investor together.
तो आप लोग are you now registered in San Jose as what? As a C corporation or what?
So we are registered. We are registered as a C corporation in state of Delaware, which is a normal practice used for most of the startups. And so yes, we are legally incorporated. Yes.
Legal entity आप वहाँ पर हैं. चलें ठीक है. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next Mansoor Syed. Mansoor Syed.
Before we take another question, I want to make sure that it's important to take a couple of minutes and cover on the SAFE approach.
Sure.
And how your SAFE approach that you have also worked with SECP. And so if you make sure you are able to do that thing in this call, go ahead if you want to take it.
Yeah, let me do that.
Okay, please do.
So Naeem Saab very eloquently mentioned in his presentation that when you are making an angel investment, it would typically not be as a priced round. It would be too early. You wouldn't be able to negotiate a price. And the investment documentation for a price round are far too complicated and time consuming for you as an investor and on the other side, the founders. Therefore, a couple of standardized investment instruments have evolved. One of those instruments is a convertible note. Convertible note can take the shape of a debt with interest, and it can also be obviously interest free. SAFE is another type of convertible instrument, but as Naeem Saab very clearly mentioned, it is not a debt instrument. Think of it as advanced against equity. So you have not finalized the share price, and as a result, you don't know exactly the amount of shares you will have in the company, but you have already given that funds, and they will be used for the purposes of giving you equity in a future date. SAFE, however, provides two very clear guidelines. Number one, if there is a converting event, which is, for example, an equity financing round or some kind of an exit event like an acquisition or a liquidation, in all of those cases, there is a percentage ownership that is guaranteed to you. So, for example, if you do a capped SAFE, which basically means, and I'm just running through a simple numbers scenario for you, that you have invested $100,000 in a company at a valuation cap of $1 million. That means that you are guaranteed a minimum of 10% of the company. There can also be an example, which again Naeem Saab mentioned in his talk, where you do an uncapped SAFE, for example, in which the valuation cap is not defined, but only a discount is provided, which basically means that whatever share price you will be issuing to a subsequent seed investor or a priced round investor, you will be getting a discount on that. 20% is the standard industry norm. Now, in the case of a capped SAFE, what you are essentially, as I said, you are guaranteeing yourself a bare minimum equity in the company. But what this also means that if the company has negotiated too high of a valuation cap and the subsequent price round happens at a valuation lower than the cap, you actually get more than that. So as an example, if the investment is raised by the company. Hello?
Please continue. Please continue.
Sure. Okay. So for example, if the investment, the price round happens at $750,000, you would be entitled to more than 10% of the company, because 100,000 divided by 750, you'll get approximately about 13-14%, right? So that means that you are getting a higher percentage. And on the other hand, if you had negotiated a fixed price and you had taken 10% of the company, subsequently at the subsequent round, you would have been diluted, and you would have returned an equity ownership lower than 10%. So the third aspect of a convertible instrument and a SAFE is that it is incredibly standardized. So there is no negotiation, there is no discussion on the language. Y Combinator document is typically used verbatim. So you don't have to go and allow, for example, the worry that the standard YC document cannot be used. Luckily for us, here in Pakistan, there is no restriction on executing a SAFE agreement. It is advance against equity, and it is a commercial agreement. The SECP in Pakistan says that a local Pakistani company can execute a contract for the issuance of equity, and the requirement of share issuance at the time of the transaction, the price round transaction, would typically be fulfilled at that stage. The fourth aspect that I want to cover is that, and I was discussing this with Anwar Saab a couple of days ago as well. As most of you angels are not in Pakistan, you would typically be wiring funds from your, let's say, your personal account in US or UK or anywhere else to your account, to the company here in Pakistan. The process for a company to take ownership of a Pakistani company is incredibly complicated. So typically I encourage, especially if you are doing a $5,000 or $10,000 SAFE, to undertake the investment in your personal capacity. And since it's investing in a private limited company, your liability is limited to the funds. There is in no circumstances can you be personally liable for any actions of the investee company. And so it can be a very simple transaction. A standard SAFE is signed. You wire funds from your personal account to the company's account through banking channel, and that's it. There is no registration, there is nothing else required after that. Only time when there is a registration requirement is when shares need to be issued to you at a price round. At that time, you just need to, in fact, the company will take the responsibility of collecting the required documents from you to submit them to the SECP. In the case of an individual, it is just your passport and your mobile number. If you're a expat Pakistani and you maintain a NICOP, then there is nothing else. If you have given up your nationality and you don't have a Pakistani passport, for example, and you don't have a NICOP as well, in that case, there is some additional requirement like a CV and a few other personal information, but there is nothing more than that. So I hope I just probably
excellent. Zaid, I think that was very, 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 very good, because that really points out why in Park Angel is going to be using the SAFE approach, because it's so simple, and most importantly, not only simple transaction, there's no complexity of valuation at this point, but also it allows to cover the reward factors and the risk factors of angel investors. as you explained. So I think what we would be doing, we'll create between working with you, create a small white paper on this thing so the people, they can read it more appropriately. But I think the main message that I think what you have given is SAFE is a good approach to take, where because when you're an angel investor putting a more risk, it should be more rewarded as well. And it provides that vehicle to do that thing. At the same time, it makes things simple without running into too many complexities, especially at the individual level, angel investors would be. So with that, what I suggest, Naeem, that we should go into a panel discussion. Panel is open, which I'm going to be requesting Naeem Raza Saab and Shahab Saab to join in the call, along with Naeem Zafar, yourself, and Uzair and myself. We should be able to answer many of those questions people they're raising their hand for. So with that, Naeem Raza Saab, आप हैं कॉल के ऊपर?
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. And Shahab Saab, आप हैं कॉल के ऊपर?
हाँ जी, शहाब भी है.
आप भी
जी, मैं भी हूँ. I was trying to unmute. Yes, I joined.
Now we can see Naeem Zafar as well. Okay, perfect. And Uzair Saab. So with that, let's take a question from the audience. And Arshad, you were managing, and who should be the next one, please? आप म्यूट के ऊपर हो. Arshad, म्यूट पे हो. Arshad, you are on mute. Yeah, सही.
आसिफ. ये अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
हाँ, सही, please.
ये अस्सलाम वालेकुम. Uzair Saab has actually already answered some of the questions I had in terms of, in the context of investing in Pakistan, what will be the legal framework? So as I can understand, it's a private limited company. So in terms of protection of investor rights, the situation in Pakistan is that whenever you have a silent investor, usually you lose everything. So will there be anything from a Park Angel side which can provide some more assurance in terms of, like for example, all the angel investors would be through Park Angels, or will there be some other people you don't know, or what, or is there some additional amount of trust we can place because of connecting through Park Angels? And second thing, is Park Angels a commercial organization or is it an NGO?
So number one is Park Angel is part of the Aspire Pakistan, which is a non-profit organization. But Park Angel itself is not a non-profit organization. It needs to run on its own, facilitating in terms of bringing these three parties together: advisors, angel investors, and the startups. But at the same time, and I think to answer your question, Park Angels cannot provide any assurance. What it can provide is proper tools for angel investors to make their decision. As the Naeem Zafar properly shared, a report that was prepared after the due diligence. The TIE report is a good example of that. The decision and the risk factors should stay with the angel investors on their own. Anyone else, Naeem or Naeem Raza or Naeem Zafar, you would like to add, or Shahab?
No, it's good. Shahab,
आपने सही बोल दिया.
नहीं भाई, आप क्या कह रहे हैं?
मैंने कहा आपने सही बोल दिया है कि the investors have to be responsible for their own risk. Park Angels cannot guarantee anybody's risk mitigation.
Yeah, all we're trying to do is make it easy for people to invest in companies, make it easy for them to have a method and process to learn. Because we like to see 1,000 log Pakistan mein jo paise hain unke paas start investing in startup. That's how we're going to get ahead where we are. I mean, look at India. How did India got where it is? In 1990s, 10 business people in Mumbai came together, start meeting over dinners, and they say, we're going to help companies. And they all committed 1 lakh rupees, and they said, we'll adopt a company and mentor them. 10 people just committing. Turns out to be, they end up investing 3 crore, more than 1 lakh. But this was the all commitment they had. And then this jump started the whole ecosystem. That's what we're trying to do here.
I think that's the main essence of it. Really, many of us are very passionate about to see better Pakistan. This is a good vehicle. But at the same time, what we want to make sure in Park Angels, we provide proper tools. On one side, as we are stressing, diversification is very, very important, because you cannot bet on one company and then expect a return. As Naeem Zafar has mentioned, the due diligence is the second most important thing that we want to do, which Park Angel will help and bring that due diligence report, but the decision needs to be made by the angel investor. So with that, let's go to the next question, please.
Mr. Hamar Ali, please ask question.
Assalamu alaikum,
Mr.
everyone.
Hamar Ali.
Thank you. Thank you for the, yes, this is Amar. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please continue.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah, as far as India is concerned, and political and economical situation is concerned, and in Pakistan, all the businessmen, if they get together on a dinner and a lunch, they will start investing in their son who's playing golf or a daughter who's playing tennis in the evening. So there is all family business. If you see Arif Habib, if you see Mia Mohammad Mansha, and if you see TPL, Mr. Jamil Yusuf, XYZ list, so on and so forth. So if somebody with the right idea, with the right merit, and with the right skill set to execute a startup, I think this kind of platform is very important. So you have a right businessman or a right platform where you can pitch the idea. I think the question which is people are repeating again and again is the risk factor or a threat from the fraud perspective, that they think they will invest some kind of money and then the people vanish or some startup will go down. My question is, what is the process flow after this presentation or establishment of the Angel platform? So if I have an idea and if I have a company or if I have a pitch deck, what is for me for how is going to proceed further? I
Yeah,
just want to know this.
let me answer that thing, and then I'll request other people to respond as well. We are launching the Park launch, as I mentioned earlier, is we had just recently formed and launched. Officially is launching on May 1st, tomorrow, where we are starting our cohort 1, and that will run over next 5 months period. And we will be inviting startups as well as potential angel investors and the advisors to come in our website and log in their interest and to become part of that process. And we will take their interest, whether startups, and review them, and basically bring it down to a smaller number of startups that we believe that are good recommendation possible with those startups, and we'll present them to the investors as well. So it's starting from tomorrow, and website parkangels.com is the place to go. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, sir.
Absolutely.
So I have Rizwan and Amar hands up.
Yeah, I think the first number is Ishfaq. Ishfaq is the guest. He has raised earlier. Yeah.
Ishfaq.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
या प्लीज
जी, मेरी आवाज आ रही है सर आपको?
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल सही है।
अच्छा सर, मैं एज ए गेस्ट बात कर रहा हूँ। मेरा क्वेश्चन सर ये है कि कल 1 मई से क्या जो भी स्टार्टअप्स है वो अपने आप को वहाँ इनरोल करेंगे? सेकंड थिंग, बहुत से इंटरप्रेन्योर सोलो इंटरप्रेन्योर भी होते हैं, तो उस सूरत में पार्क एंजल की क्या स्ट्रेटजी है? और दूसरी ये बात है कि सर जो इन्वेस्टर्स वगैरह के लिए जो कनेक्टिविटी है वो पार्क एंजल खुद करेगी या हम खुद एज ए इंटरप्रेन्योर भी उनको अप्रोच कर सकते हैं?
My answer is entrepreneur approach करेंगे.
Yes.
We can facilitate, but we don't, we have other things going on. Our job is to help you, guide you, advise you, connect you. But you already talking to an investor, you can come to us and say, look, the investor is interested. Can you get a bigger group for us? We can raise more money. Okay, we'll try to help there. So our job is to facilitate.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And let's talk about solo investor. Solo founder. Solo founder is suspicious. Most investors don't like to invest in solo founder. इसकी 2 वजह हैं. Number 1,
Next.
Maybe you're such a control
Suresh
freak
Kumar.
that you don't want anybody else to be part of the company. That's a red flag, negative flag. Second possibility is that if your idea, you could not even convince one more person to join you who's as passionate, maybe the idea is not so good. So, and आपको कोई कोविड हो गया, कोई चक्कर हो गई, या आपकी बाइसिकल से गिर गए, फिर कंपनी तबाह हो जाएगी. तो we want two people कि एक गिर जाए तो एक तो खड़ा होगा. So that's why you're always looking for 2 or 3 co-founders.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think that building the team is very, very important as part of turning that idea into a. Yeah, next question, please.
Yeah. Alaikum, Suresh here.
Mr. Suresh Kumar.
Thank you, Hashim Saab, for giving me the opportunity. Assalamu alaikum. Most of the question has been answered, but my question is that all the startups, the one which is with Angel, are only Pakistani startups, or we can invest in any other country startups will be there? This is my first question. Second question is there that when we are investing at a start, is there any limit that minimum 5,000, 10,000 something will be there, or based on the valuation of the company? So what could be the investment options?
So let me answer. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say that how much is the minimum, maximum? There'll be case by case basis, so there's no preconceived notions.
Yep.
Number two, jo invest karna hai. I mean, our short answer is if there's an opportunity to make money, we're not going to close our eyes. But our main purpose is to help Pakistani ecosystem. Anwar?
Yeah, that is correct. And I think main primary purpose is to help those startups which are focusing on Pakistan or based in Pakistan. They can focus, and in fact, we encourage for other countries as well. But however, there should be Pakistan should be part of the equation in that context. Number two, there's no upper limit on how much to invest. But however, there's a minimum limit to keep this thing at Park Angels platform level more manageable. So it's right now is $5,000 is the minimum investment. Over time, we believe that we want to get to even $500 level. For that one, we have to go through some other legal aspect of things. We are not there yet. So minimum is $5,000 is investment.
Mr. Rizwan is next one. Mr. Rizwan.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity. एक तो पहला ये कि मैं देख रहा हूँ क्वेश्चंस उसमें काफ़ी सारे टाइप हो रहे हैं लेकिन कोई इसको जवाब नहीं दे रहा तो आई एक्सपेक्ट कि ये चूंकि रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है आप लोग उन लोगों को जवाब देंगे ना at some point. This is very important. I mean, you guys are talking to folks here in USA. तो दूसरा मेरा जो है अभी इस मीटिंग से पहले ही मेरी किसी से लाहौर में बात हो रही थी तो I think there are some taboos. How I don't know how do you want to call it. And I learned how, a big company here in, that is a Pakistan Lahore-based organization, they lost a contract to someone else who, and the reason turned out to be कि यार हम पीछे जो मिला पाकिस्तान के साथ बिजनेस नहीं करना चाहते. एक चीज ये हो गई और मैं कई लोगों से मिला हुआ हूँ और this has been a challenge, what Park Angels can do. So the question is, this is a fact. I'm not just making a statement. I have been here long enough. I have met with entrepreneurs. I keep going back and forth, आते जाते रहते हैं, मिडिल ईस्ट में भी जाना होता है. तो इस सिलसिले में भी पाक एंजल्स को कुछ करना चाहिए कि किस तरह से हम इधर पाकिस्तान का ओवरऑल जो इमेज है उसको हम बेहतर कर सकते हैं. That is one thing. Second, at even personal level, I have come across some executives, Pakistani executives, they work predominantly in IT industry. And here is something that is alarming, and it should be alarming for all of us. And that is, अरे अगर तूने काम करवाना है तो इंडियन को हायर कर, बातें करवानी है तो पाकिस्तानी को हायर कर लो, ठीक है ना? तो and I'm not going to deny, I have come across such situations in my career also. तो इसको भी हमें किसी लेवल पे जाके पाक एंजल्स को.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. I'm really sorry for that. But I think this is we are going beyond the main purpose of this call. There are many other issues. There are many other opportunities, and inshallah, time we'll get to a better place. And there are always positives and negatives for anything that you can pick in this world. But however, please stay focused on the purposes here is the angel investing. And so within that, I would really take any question from you. Thank you.
ठीक है, शुक्रिया. I'll send you an email. I think आपने उधर पोस्ट किया.
Appreciate that.
I'm more
Yes.
interested. या वो जो आपने previous job 2 साल से हसन सैयद साहब वहाँ स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं, देख रहे हैं, तो क्या कितनी उसमें सक्सेस हुई है? I'm more interested in that.
बिल्कुल, वो आपसे शेयर करेंगे. और आप प्लीज ज्वाइन Aspire Pakistan as well, aspirepk.org. Really, that's some of those things that we are trying to address as well. Please continue. Next question, please.
Dr. Azam Arustu Saab.
Assalamu alaikum. Excellent session, Anwar, Naeem, very, very valuable, and was there for throwing some legal aspect. Mera sawal ye hai ki, what are the next steps? How do we operationalize angel investing in Pakistan? How are we going to collect? Are we going to collect pool of? Are we going to start round for collecting a pool of funds? And is that pool going to be? Are we going to take commitments from individuals? But then the funding will be done individually from person A to the companies directly. How we that's my question. And then second question is, working people like us, or majority of us who are not Pakistani residents, don't even have an account in Pakistan. How can they work with that scenario and then repatriate winnings or profits at later stage? So there are two parts of my question.
So I'll mention one thing, that we just starting the process starting tomorrow to invite startups on one side, and we got I think by the time we finish, we believe that we will have about 1,000+ startups that we will put into through the funnel. On second side, and these type of sessions that we are providing education and inviting and creating awareness of to the angel and potential angel investor, because many of us may not be have any experience of angel investing in the past, but we would like people to participate in this angel investing. And this process will continue, and we will continue to invite people through that aspect, and then we'll run through a process. But I will ask Naeem Zafar to just to take that thing and put it in the proper context, because this is not first time being done through Park Angels. It is a very normal process that's followed by many other facilitation platforms. Naeem?
So I think if I understand Azam's, okay, I'm interested. What do I do next? 3-step process. Number 1, register at Park Angel website. Okay, I'm interested. That's step number 1. If you don't know how to register, ask Anwar. Number 2, for our job is to present to you some interesting companies which passed our screen. Okay, ye yaar 4-5 company interested hai, and we'll come to you with some detail and say who wants to participate in due diligence. And we set up a small committee of 1 or 2 people to look deeper into the hood, and then come back with a third step is to once a month we'll say हमने diligence किया, ये 4-5 कंपनी में 2 हमें अच्छी नहीं थी लेकिन ये 3 अच्छी लग रही हैं. Then people say I want to come in, मैं $10,000 तैयार डालने को तैयार हूँ, मैं ये करने को तैयार. Then there'll be small process to legally make this happen. Even if you don't have account in Pakistan, doesn't matter. This is Park Angel will facilitate how to pool the money, how to invest the money, how to issue shares. So this is a 3-step process.
Great. Thanks,
Okay,
Naeem. Before we take the next question, I'm going to request Naeem Raza Saab, अगर आप थोड़ा सा कुछ comments based on the whole discussion that we have seen. You have a lot of experience in terms of building a business. Anything that we would like to share, and I'm going to request same thing from Shahab as well.
Yeah. So going back to the question about angel investing, I have been part of a angel group as well as part of a VC group. तो दोनों का जरा criteria different होता है. Angel में basically what we need is that the companies will come and present, and if Anwar chooses, I can create a presentation of what an investor should be looking in a company to invest. Yes. It's probably half an hour session we can arrange. We can educate our audience to say what are the factors you should look at, and it will be probably a list of 20 or 30 of those pointers. So what you do is that you go through all those, and then you just say, yeah, this is a company I want to do business with, and this is the company I want to invest in. I think what people should understand is the Park Angels is a platform. It is not an investment vehicle. You're going to invest in the company, you're going to take the risk, you're going to benefit from the profits and things like that. So that is very important. And also another thing which people need to understand is that not all companies are investable and not all companies will be invested in. From a VC point of view, it's a very hard criteria. The VC group I am in, we have 6,000 applications every year, and at the end of the year, we invest only in 6 companies. Angels, on the other hand, are a lot different. They get highly invested because the check sizes are smaller. So this is, mashallah, may Allah reward those people who have started this process. The purpose of this forum is to educate. The purpose of this forum is to facilitate. So the more you get educated, the more you get understanding this business, then you will feel confident to invest. So that's kind of what I wanted to say.
Excellent. Thank you, Naeem Saab. Shahab, you would like to add, and I think you are very experienced as well.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Nice to be talking to all of you. Yeah, just I think a lot of good conversation and a lot of good comments, good questions. I think it's we've covered a lot of ground. I think maybe one aspect to add would be, investing just like आपकी कोई hobby हो, कोई शौक हो, तो उसमें you become a part of the ecosystem. So that's kind of how I believe angel investing goes as well. That you're not going to be just walking down and किसी को आप card देंगे और आपसे deal हो जाएगी. So it's being a part of these kinds of platforms will introduce you to people who are seasoned in doing these kinds of things. It'll give you somebody who's done this from a legal perspective. It's going to give you access to somebody that you can ask advice from. How did you do this in Silicon Valley, as an example? Or I heard comments from some folks from Chicago or around the world in the Middle East. So we're not inventing something for the first time. This has been done around the world for several decades, right? So we're trying. I think a good way to kind of think about this: if you're interested as an investor, angel investing is one more channel that you can perhaps maybe consider. And if you're going to consider that, becoming a part of a platform where this kind of activity is going to be at a heightened level is a good way to get access to deal flow, guidance on perspectives from other like-minded people who are maybe of similar mindset, who look at companies a certain way. तो इसमें छोटे-छोटे groups बनने शुरू हो जाते हैं फिर. This is at least, and I'm sure the others will chime in on this as well. You'll find people who are of similar net worth, who have a similar perspective, who have similar background. Now, in what has been done around the world, there's nuances that are Pakistan specific that some of those were covered today. I think those will get normalized out to say, some of the challenges of how you get money invested, what's the right legal entity. I think that's where I think a platform like this, rather than trying to solve that on your own, collectively people will start solving that as part of the platform. So I think that, if I think about it, is really some of the bigger benefits of a platform. Even today, you have access to 60 people. Even if 2 of those reached out to each other and said, let's talk, I'm interested, you're interested, you were asking the same question as what I was asking. If you get an answer from the platform or from somewhere else, let's make sure that those aur bhi jo hai unko bhi hum jama kar le, and maybe the 5 of us can do something together. So that's kind of how I've seen this played out. If I take my personal journey from the first time I wanted to be an angel investor, there was a lot of learning, even though I had been on the other side raising money for my own startups. But when you flip that around, you have a very different perspective. So I said, rather than doing this by myself, why don't I attach myself to people who are more seasoned and experienced at it? And then at some point I got to the place where other people wanted to attach to me. So when I looked and brought a company to the table, they would benefit from my experience. So that's a little bit, some more food for thought.
Yeah,
very well said.
Anwar, I have one additional comment
Yes,
to
please.
make, if you allow me. I
Please.
also want to let people know that angel investing is highly risky, and you don't take your life savings and invest into angel investing. Okay. So that's something people should keep it in mind. कि जो सारा उम्र का पैसा जोड़ा हुआ है, you don't put that in angel investing. You take calculated risks. But then there are also benefits out of it. But please never think about कि जी ये बैंक की तरह है, बस मैंने पैसा डाल दिया, जब चाहेगा निकाल लिया. Unfortunately, and I have seen this happening even in US in our community, that people will think that investing is like giving somebody a loan, और मैं जब चाहूंगा उनसे पैसे वापस मांग लूंगा. Okay, it doesn't work that way. You invest and then it can go up, it can go down, it can go to 0, it can go to 100. That's all what is. It's an investment, it's not a loan. You don't go call that person ke mere paise wapas karo, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. That is not what an angel investing is. And I know it's a very basic thing, but you will be surprised how many people I have come through in this process, in which they want their money back when things don't go their way. So please keep that in mind.
Thanks for clarifying that, Naeem. These are the facts which are important, and also, especially you said there are risk factors and there are ways to mitigate risk factors that Naeem Zafar talked about earlier as well. But these are the real facts. We have to keep that in mind. Going back to what Shahab said, and I think think of it like, and especially people who have not done any angel investing in past, is like a journey that you're starting, and you would learn through this process, and it will make it easier to work through the Park Angels platform. Our objective is to provide you tools to make the right, better decision. So that's the way we look at it. With that, let's go to the next question.
Anwar sir?
Yes, yeah. So the question
Anwar sir?
is for Uzair.
Yes, somebody wants to ask.
Mr. Anwar Shah.
No. So this is Uzair. No. Anwar sir, so there was an aspect, a question that was asked, and I would like to address it.
Please,
this relates to. So this relates to exit, and people have asked. So one thing I think very clearly has been discussed, and I don't want to repeat, but just for the sake of at the risk of repeating myself, when you make an angel investment, the typical horizon of that investment is 6 to 7 years. Sometimes it can be longer as well. So whenever you make an investment in a startup, because it's an illiquid investment, you should not expect any immediate return. That being said, a lot of investment that happened in the last 2-3 years in Pakistan was facilitated by the fact that State Bank made revisions to the foreign exchange manual, which has made it possible for people to repatriate funds out of Pakistan without prior permission from the State Bank. We all know that currently there is a balance of payment issue and current account deficit that Pakistan is managing, but on a regulatory basis, India made this change about 20 years ago. It was done in 2002. We have done that in 2021. But that change is now there. It allows a foreign direct investor in Pakistan to repatriate money out of Pakistan at any time without prior permission from the State Bank.
Thanks, Zair, for clarifying that. I think that's a very important change. By the way, China never made that change. And people that I know, they had a struggle pulling the money out of China. But however, I think this is a very important point, and that it takes about 6 to 7 years generally to be able to see a reward for an investment in a startup that does very well, and then be able to enjoy the exit. That exit could be, though we have not touched on, it could be an IPO. And we believe that IPO market is an early stage of development in Pakistan, and Park Angel platform is working with some stock exchange people. We are meeting them on May 25 as well to continue to encourage that IPO market, because that's a very important vehicle for startups to exit some of the investment that many startups to grow next level, allow a general public to be able to invest into these startups. And many of obvious people leaving invest, they know what the IPO means and what the public companies means are. With that said, Anwar Shah Saab, and you have your hand raised for quite a while, please.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Anwar Khan Saab. The question is basically for a legal entity of a startup in Pakistan, and it is probably for Uzair Saab, that what is the minimum requirement for a startup that where angel investor can legally invest? I know that probably the angel investors, Park Angel will do the due diligence, but just generally a question about what is the bare minimum for a startup that where foreigners or even Pakistanis can invest legally.
So Anwar Sir, this is a very easy question to answer. A minimum that you can acquire in Pakistan is 1 share, and 1 share at a minimum can be for 1 rupee, right? So that's the minimum investment. And there is obviously no upper limit on that. You would typically not make a very small investment because obviously you would spend some time.
Sorry to cut you off. I'm asking for the legal entity of the startup in Pakistan where angel investors can make legal investment. So the legal entity of the startup in Pakistan.
The company. Let me just finish this thought. Just for the sake of it. I know I misunderstood your question, but just for the sake of it, you would typically make an investment keeping in view the time and energy that you are spending, and that's one of the reasons why, as a syndicate, you pool together. A few angels come together to identify an opportunity and invest, because you are dividing the time and energy in identifying opportunities, conducting due diligence, executing legal documents, etc. Now, as far as the legal entity is concerned, again, the minimum authorized capital of a Pakistani company is 100,000 rupees. The minimum paid up capital is 10,000 rupees. So you can start a company simply by 10,000 rupees. A typical company, a founder-led company in Pakistan, the founder is expected to contribute in sweat. So if you are a product, for example, a software product company, you would typically be building that product yourself. So your sweat is what is making that product valuable for a potential angel investor, right? So once the product is at a stage where you can start hiring a few people, you go to angel and raise money. So it can be as minimal as possible. That has no bearing on a potential startup, that whether its paid up capital is 10,000 rupees or 1 million rupee or 1 billion rupee, it really doesn't matter. What matters is what product has been built, as Anwar Saab mentioned, and whether if they are in the process of building an MVP, whether you as an angel feel that MVP or that business idea has enough juice and you like the founder and all the other boxes are ticked, then you would invest. And so there is no minimum investment a founder has to make in a company and when they have set up the legal entity.
And that legal entity should be in place, right? And the business account should be in place before we invest. Was that so?
Of course, 100%, right? So generally, when I'm on the other side, I'm advising founders. For me, I advise them that don't register a company on day one when you've just thought of an idea. I generally advise them the right sweet spot of incorporating an entity is when you have a reasonable idea that you are going to start talking to potential investors, or when, for example, your idea is at an alpha stage or the product is at an alpha stage where you can start, just testing it out a little bit, even if you're just doing it with friends and family. And the third is where you are spending enough of your own money in the venture. For example, you know, in order to hire 2 or 3 people, you know that you have to spend about 200,000-300,000 rupees a month. And rather than doing that from your personal pocket, I say, you know, the cost of incorporating a company in Pakistan is about 5,000 rupees. So I tell them that you know, just incorporate the company, that rather than spending that money from your personal account, put it in your company's account. That is your equity in the company, and then spend money using that. So that's it may vary from that situation. I hope that this answers your question.
Perfect. So we are almost a minute to hour, and I don't see any other hand raised as well. So thank you for all the guests who joined this session. I hope you were able to learn somewhat more than before you started the session, number one. And number two is really appreciate Shahab Saab and Naeem Raza Saab and Uzair Saab and Naeem Zafar Saab for joining the session. And again, these type of sessions are really important towards building Pakistan, in my view. And Naeem Raza, I do take your offer. Be able to do another session, and I think we do need to continue doing such type of sessions. And this is a journey we'll continue, inshallah ta'ala. So thank you all for joining, and we finish our call. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.
Assalamu alaikum.